This is Danny Gould with the Gould team, selling Silicon Valley. Welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to talk about 3 of the main things that I feel have led to my success in real estate that have caused me to generate now over $1 million in gross commissions in just 4 short years. Plus, I'm going to talk about the one thing that I would do completely differently if I were to do it all over again. So for those of you that are new to the channel, first of all, go ahead and click that subscribe button down below. Plenty more real estate content coming for you. But if you guys are new to the channel, I am a 27-year-old real estate agent here in Silicon Valley. I've been selling real estate now for about a little less than 4.5 years. And it's a really special month for me actually, because this month I finally crossed the $1 million GCI mark in my career. For me, it's been a long time coming. My goal has always been to generate $1 million GCI in 1 year, and I feel like I'm really close to getting that done. In fact, I could even probably do it this year. I'm fairly on pace to get that done this year. So just gonna keep grinding, just gonna keep working and helping as many people as I can achieve their real estate goals, because ultimately it's in helping other people that I'm gonna be able to succeed and achieve my goals. But all that aside, great, I made $1 million, but what are the 3 main things that caused me to get to where I am today? Because it didn't happen by accident. A lot of people feel that because of the high price point here in Silicon Valley, that making $1 million is actually very easy, but that could not be further from the truth. In fact, last year, if you look, there were over 4,000 agents in the county that didn't even have a single sale. And a lot of them, it's not because they didn't try, it's because they just can't succeed in a market that's this competitive. So I really feel that the advice that I'm about to give isn't just applicable in a high price point market, but can really be applied and executed in any market across the United States. Whether your average price point is $60,000 all the way up and above $1 million per transaction. The first thing that I would say really led to my success, and if you've watched my videos before, I have talked about this one at length, but it's, in the words of Gary Vee, really the willingness to eat shit. I really, for the first 2 years of my career, was so willing and able and ready to just eat whatever shit I needed to eat in order to get the business, right? And that doesn't mean like, discounting my commission or doing outrageous or inappropriate or illegal things. What I mean is that I grinded. I was at the office early, I stayed late, I made the cold calls that no one else is willing to make. I made the sacrifices that no one else is willing to make. And it takes that kind of sacrifice as the activation energy to get your business to a level where it's running and generating business for you, whether or not you're actually like there on the phone, right? That referral business, that foundation is not going to get built unless you build it yourself, right? And so as a 23-year-old getting into real estate, no friends, no connections really that wanted to buy or sell, I really needed to go out there and do whatever it took in order to get the business. So when I started in real estate, I would get into the office at 8 a.m. I would start making expired calls up until about 12 noon, and then I'd take lunch, and then if I didn't have any more appointments, I would get back on the phone. In calling the expired listings, I actually learned how to handle a plethora of objections. I mean, really, if you call expireds and you master that script and that skill, it will set you up for future success, because there is almost no objection that you will not be able to handle in the future if you just take the time to eat the shit in the beginning and take that kind of rejection. I also, in my first 2 years, did a whole lot of door knocking and dropped flyers every single day. And I would go out and farm my areas. I had 2 farms, one of which I still farm today. The other one I stopped because I wasn't really getting the results that I wanted. And so the farm that I stuck with, I actually now consistently every single year since I started farming that area have made over $100,000 in gross commissions just from that one farm, right? So in 4 years, I've made well over actually 400 in gross commissions. And that's not just from the sales in that community, but also if they buy something else with me, right? Or the referrals that I get from those past clients in that community. I mean, it's a snowball effect. Being willing to go out there and pass out the flyers and do the dirty work, it's something that not a lot of agents want to do. But as a new agent, I was willing and able to sacrifice and make that commitment to making sure that I passed out those flyers and really got my name out there in those communities. Now, I don't want you guys thinking that eating shit means working long hours to the point where you're sacrificing sleep and or your personal hygiene. I think that in this day and age, especially with everything that's going on the internet and all these motivational speakers and gurus and people telling you what you should and shouldn't do, the reality is that there's a lot of people out there that demote the importance of sleep and personal health in general, right? And I do think there's something to be said for working too much and working to the point where you're not getting the adequate rest and recovery that you need in order to perform at an optimal level. And frankly, I've learned this the hard way because I've experienced several bouts of burnout in my 4 years as a realtor. And, you know, in that 4.5 years that I've been selling real estate, I really have only been selling for maybe like 3 3/4 of a year. In that 4.5 years, I've had like 9 months where I've basically not been selling. I mean, I've been selling, but like I wasn't sticking to my daily schedule. And that's because I was simply burnt out and just not enjoying the real estate because I didn't take care of myself. I wasn't sleeping enough. I wasn't getting enough recovery. I wasn't going to the gym enough. And so I just felt bad. So by no means am I saying that you have to sacrifice to the point where you're not getting enough sleep. Get enough sleep for you. Everyone's different. I know some people who are like freaks of nature, can do like 6 hours of sleep every single night, be okay. That's not me. You know, honestly, if I'm not getting 7 to 8, even 9 hours sometimes, I just don't feel like myself. And I've actually tracked and measured this, right? Just like everything else, just like my lead performance measures, right? I track my sleep and I figured out that if I'm not getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, I'm actually not performing as well in my career. I can correlate when I'm doing best in real estate that I get more sales when I get more sleep. So think about that, all right? So lack of sleep does not equal success. In fact, I would say it's the opposite. If you're not getting enough sleep, you are going to be less successful. So don't sacrifice your personal health, your mental health, and your sleep. I'm not telling you to do that. Okay, cool. So all that aside, really, when I wasn't at the gym or sleeping, I was working, right? And so I didn't have a girlfriend at the time, and I didn't really have any other commitments. And so for me, my only commitment was to myself and to achieving the goals that I set forth for myself. And so I went out there every single day with reckless abandon to make dust in the world. And that's how I live every single day. So for me, you know, it's not just like, you know, go and do like 3 hours of work and say, yay, I did it, right? Or make a cold call and be like, woo. No, you got to go in there and you got to grind. You got to grind and you got to grind and you got to grind and you got to grind. You got to grind a little more, and then you're going to maybe like go hit the gym before or after work. I tend to prefer before. And then you come back, you eat your dinner, and then you sleep. Yeah. Now, am I saying that that's my life right now? No, absolutely not. But I've gotten to the point where I don't need to do that in order to be successful. I don't need to do that anymore, right? But I did. And so what I'm saying is that if you want to achieve that same level of success, there's that activation energy. You guys are familiar, like if you took like high school chemistry, you'll know what activation energy is, right? There is like a certain point in time where you have to activate it, right? And it's in that activation energy, right, that you set forth the chemical reaction, right? And so that activation energy is significantly higher than the energy required to maintain, right? But you have to get it off the ground. And that's what those first 2 years were, is that activation energy to get my business moving in the right direction and to get me to where I want it to be. All right, so number 2 is the commitment to learning and mastering the scripts and dialogues necessary to succeed in real estate. I mean, it's not rocket science. I know, it's really boring, right? learning scripts and learning dialogues. I know a lot of people actually that say, oh, I don't need scripts and dialogues. I don't want to be fake. I don't want to be fake with anyone. I want to be natural. I want to be myself. Well, guess what? You can't be yourself if you don't know how to respond to someone when they give you an objection, right? Scripts and dialogues are not there to trick anyone. They're not for you to sell anybody. It's quite the opposite. The scripts and dialogues are used and meant to help someone make a decision, right? Scripts and dialogues are not used to force someone to make a decision. The scripts and dialogues are used to help someone, to aid someone get from point A to point B. Maybe they're not ready to buy or sell, right? But those scripts and dialogues are there to help someone make that decision for themselves. So if you are an effective user of the scripts and the dialogues, you should be able to qualify clients and help them decide for themselves whether or not they're ready to be a buyer or a seller. And then also, if they are ready to be a buyer or a seller, your scripts and dialogues should be dialed in to the point where you're able to show your value to the client. That's it. That's literally what scripts and dialogues are meant for. By the way, if you guys are interested in some of the best scripts and dialogues that I have access to, go ahead and leave a comment down below. I am interested in hearing from you guys. So if you have any scripts or dialogues that you're interested in learning from me, then go ahead and put it down below and let me know what you're interested in. I made the same mistake and I made the same assumptions when I got into real estate, that I didn't need scripts and dialogues and that they were gonna break my natural speaking habits and make me sound like a salesman. I didn't really see any value in it, and I didn't really wanna invest my time and energy into learning them because I thought they all sounded fake. And the reality is that a lot of the trainers out there, like Mike Ferry especially, and no disrespect to Mike, but the reality is that a lot of his scripts sound like used car salesmen, right? Like, haven't you ever read one of his scripts and thought, God, this sounds like it wouldn't even work on Forrest Gump? I mean, life is like a box of chocolates. No, I mean, it's not like that, especially here in Silicon Valley, right? Where the level of customer and client is extremely sophisticated, right? And so for me, it was just like, well, until I found the scripts and the dialogues that were truly effective for me and really resonated with me and didn't make me feel inorganic, I guess is the best word, that I truly like became a believer in the scripts. Because before I used scripts, I took discounted commission listings. I barely closed any listing appointments that I went on, and everything I did was just kind of fly by the seat of my pants. Well, now that I got my listing presentation dialed in, I take over 25% of the listings that I go on, right? Which is fairly good, I feel like, at least for someone that isn't getting a lot of referral business, and a lot of the leads that I'm generating are actually cold leads, right? And so for me, 25% is actually fairly good. And I'm really working to get that number up and above 50%. But for right now, 25% for me is not terrible, and up from where it was before, which is like almost zero. So the scripts for sure helped me become a better listing agent. They also helped me become a better buyer agent in the fact that I'm able to demonstrate an immense amount of value right from the get-go at that first initial buyer consultation, right? So the initial buyer consult that I do is so dialed in and so focused on delivering the value to the client that when they leave there, there's no way that they're working with anyone else besides myself and my team, right? And the reason that is because we take them through not just, all the things that we're going to do for them throughout the entire process, but also talk about off-market listings, also talk our value to them in terms of the negotiations, also let them know that over 70% of our clients get their very first offer accepted, which is extraordinarily high, especially in this market. And so, all the things that we talk about, and there's a lot of dialogue involved, right? As a lot of my team members know, it is a long consultation, but at the end of that, they are 100% on board. And if they're not, it's because they're usually not ready to buy. And let's not forget that in using these scripts and not flying by the seat of my pants, I'm implementing something that is repeatable and measurable, right? I am able to measure my results as a result of using these scripts and I'm able to measure them. If I get a listing and I didn't use a script, right? And then I go into another listing appointment and use another script. Well, then how do I really know like what worked and what didn't work, right? Now, if I'm going in there and I'm saying the same script and I'm not getting the listing signed, then what do you think needs to change? Obviously the script, right? Because if I'm getting the appointment and then not closing it, then something is wrong with the listing presentation. Now, if I'm not getting any appointments, but the appointments that I'm going on, I'm closing, then I know that it's either my prospecting, but if I'm doing a lot of prospecting and I'm making my contacts, then I know that it's my actual prospecting scripts that are lacking, right? And then so I'm able at that point to make adjustments to the scripts themselves. But it's only in using the same script over and over again that you're going to be able to create systematized, repeatable, and measurable results. And finally, that leads me to number 3, which is something that I've actually talked about in several videos before, but it's just not allowing my ego to get in the way of my success. You know, when I started in real estate, and we see this a lot, right? It really takes a special kind of human being to think that they're going to be able to just work for themselves and make hundreds of thousands of dollars every single year in their first year, right? And so it takes a certain level of self-confidence. And confidence and arrogance are separated by a very fine line. And so when I got into real estate, I erred more on the side of arrogance, right? And because of that, I really thought that I was too good for being on a team. I was too good to be coached or mentored. And I thought that I could do it all on my own. And nothing could be further from the truth. Really, and honestly, if you're watching this video, you're probably more open to coaching than I was at the beginning. I literally wanted to do it all on my own. And I really had that sure belief that I could, right? But the reality is that if you aren't open to learning from other people, then what you're doing is you're basically lengthening your learning curve, right? You're lengthening the amount of time that it's going to take for you to be successful, right? Now, if you soak in all that knowledge, what you're doing is you're getting all the information, all the things that people didn't do right? And then you're taking that, you're figuring out, okay, this is what I should do, this is what I shouldn't do, this is what I should do, this is what I shouldn't do, and then expediting your learning curve. You're expediting your success because you're willing and able to take in criticism, you're willing and able to learn from other people. So when I got into real estate, I really thought I could do it all on my own, right? And it wasn't until like 4 or 5 months in, when I didn't have any transactions, that I was finally willing and open to learn from other people. And so what I did was I actually joined a team. My team leader, her name was Lynn Tran, and shout outs to Lynn. Lynn is and continues to be one of my greatest mentors. Really smart lady. And she taught me a lot, right? And then she also provided me with good lead sources, right? Which is something that I didn't really have money for. She had been spending, I believe, $3,000 to $4,000 per month on Zillow and Trulia leads. And I took a lot of those leads and closed them. In my first year, just with Zillow alone, I did 9 deals, which is crazy. You're not gonna get that kind of quality now from Zillow. I guarantee you. I've been on Zillow on and off for the last 4 years, and the lead quality has certainly diminished over the last 4 years. And so this isn't a plug for Zillow by any means, but at the time it really was a great lead source. And so I was able to leverage Lynn's skills and her money, and I leveraged my time to basically marry those two together, and the results were 9 transactions, both of us win, right? And so for those of you getting into real estate, I would highly encourage you to explore the team option. I really, truly feel that in this day and age, the solo agent is really dying because the teams cut out a lot of the inefficiencies that are currently present with a single agent. Not to get too carried away with the team conversation right now, but the reality is that the team model really takes away a lot of the inefficiencies that are currently present in the real estate space, right? And so you getting into real estate as a new agent, or even if you've been in real estate for a little while and really aren't seeing the level of success that you want to see, you might want to be looking into a team, because truthfully, the longer we go, the less successful solo agents are going to be, because the larger teams are going to eat up more and more and more market share. But it wasn't just joining a team that really caused me to be successful. Part of my ego thing was me thinking that I really didn't need coaching, right? And so when I got into real estate, I thought, I don't need a coach. And it wasn't really until maybe my first full year in real estate, and after maybe over a dozen transactions, right? I think 14, 15, 16 transactions in, that I started to think, I could really maybe, use a coach. And then that was the gateway drug to another coach whose name is Lorna Hines. And Lorna has really taught me a lot about being a great salesperson, a great real estate agent, and just a great person in general. I know that sounds weird, but it's true. A good coach won't just impact your business, they'll impact your life. And that's really what I feel that she's been able to do for me. So thanks, Lorna, if you're watching this. I doubt it, but. So that leads me to my bonus topic, which is the one thing that I actually would do differently if I were to do it all over again. And this kind of harkens back to my very first topic, which was, grinding and being able and willing to eat shit, right? Well, I touched on the subject of burnout, right? And the burnout was due to, in large part, my lack of sleep and my lack of recovery and my lack of commitment to my physical health. In addition to that, my burnout was really in large part due to me dwelling on things that happened in the past that were out of my control. One thing, if I had it to do over again, would be to train myself to have a really, really short-term memory, right? Almost every time I've had a period of burnout or a period where I perform at less than optimal levels, it's usually instigated by a series of deals gone bad, right? And it happens, right? You get a series of deals that fall through, or listings that cancel, or people that change their minds, right? Last year in particular, there was a period where I had lost almost $200,000 in commissions within the span of 2 months. And I categorized that in terms of lost listings, transactions that fell through, buyers that no longer wanted. There were a lot of things in the pipeline that really didn't get done. And as a result, I started to get down on myself, negative self-talk, and then boom, right? Lack of sleep, lack of self-care, and boom. If I had it to do over again, and something that I would really stress to everyone that's watching this video, and I know it's easier said than done, but have a short-term memory. That's the one thing I would definitely do differently, is wake up every morning and truly embrace the beauty of being unemployed every single morning, right? And that's hard to do some days, especially when you lose over $100,000 in commissions in one day. And this year, it's happened to me twice where I've lost big checks, right? I've already been out $100,000 this year, but every single time the recovery period or the time that I dwell on that becomes shorter, and it becomes shorter, and it becomes shorter, and it becomes shorter, and it becomes shorter. And eventually, I want to train myself to the point, and I'm still not there yet, but train myself to the point where it doesn't even faze me at all. And honestly, the best way to do that is to have more business, right? But you're not going to get more business if you keep dwelling on the past. And it's this perpetual cycle, right? So one thing I would really encourage you is that if you're just getting into real estate, don't count on that check. Don't even think about it. Don't calculate the fucking commission until you've closed that deal, right? Just don't count on it. Don't rely on it. And do not for a second dwell on something that you never had to begin with. And it is easier said than done, but just do it. Wow, if you guys are still here and watching this video, thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna shamelessly ask now for you to smash that like button. If you guys got any comments or questions, leave them down below. And by the way, if you are in the Silicon Valley and you're thinking about joining a team, or you're interested in perhaps a different approach, go ahead and reach out to me. We're looking to expand, and I'm definitely looking for a few good women and men to join the team. Text me. My phone number's in the description box as well. But this is Danny Gould with the Gould team selling Silicon Valley, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.